Today, we're taking an in-depth look at the new Learn by Reading system coming to 7 Days to Die in Alpha 21. Now we've got a lot of info to cover and no time to waste, so let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Alpha 21 will be introducing an overhaul to the crafting system in 7 Days to Die, formerly known as the Learn by Looting system and most recently dubbed the Learn by Reading system. Now, Savin's World is primarily dedicated to single-player games and playthroughs, so this video will focus on how the new Learn by Reading system will impact single-player games, as we take an in-depth look at this revamped crafting system coming to 7 Days to Die in Alpha 21. Currently, crafting is tied to perks. By increasing your perk level, the player can unlock crafting recipes and increase the quality of craftable items, up to a maximum of quality level 5. And the current crafting system is rather limited in terms of progression. Most tools, weapons, and armor have 3 tiers of gear. You have a primitive tier, a mid-tier, and a top tier. However, once you have the ability to craft quality 5 gear, you have that ability across every single tier. Meaning once you can craft a quality 5 primitive item, you can also craft a quality 5 top tier item as well. And the changes coming in Alpha 21 will attempt to fix this lack of crafting progression. In Alpha 21, perks will no longer unlock crafting recipes or govern crafting at all. Instead, crafting skill is increased by finding and reading magazines. These skill magazines can be found, bought, and or received as quest rewards. And the topic of the magazine matches the location you would expect to find it in the world. So if you're looking for magazines to increase tool crafting, you may want to hit up a Working Stiff Tools POI. Looking for magazines to increase weapon or armor crafting, you may want to hit up the Shotgun Messiah, and so on and so forth. There are 23 new magazines being added to loot, such as this example here. And these 23 magazines correspond to 23 new skills added to govern crafting. And a new skill page showing your progress has been added to the player interface. The Fun Pimps have provided a couple of screenshots to show off these new skills. So let's take a closer look at these to break down exactly how the new crafting progression works. And as we see here, this is the new crafting skills tab that was mentioned. Now, the first thing to point out is the varying skill levels. Some skills have 100 levels, but others have less, depending on how many unlocks there are for recipes and quality tiers. For instance, the Seed skill has only 20 levels, whereas the Robotics skill has 100. The right side of the image gives us a glimpse at the new crafting progression. Skill increases unlock recipes at certain points, as well as increase quality of crafting for items with quality. So, as you find and read magazines, not only will you unlock the various tiers of craftable items, but you will also increase the quality level of those items as well. Each tech level has a separate range in the skill spectrum, so that you have to work up through primitive tech, and then iron tech, and then steel tech. And being able to craft a blue or quality 5 stone axe no longer means you automatically can also craft a blue or quality 5 iron axe. So now that perks no longer govern crafting, do they impact crafting at all? And the answer to that question is yes, just in an indirect way. Perks slightly affect the probability of finding like-themed magazines and parts for those recipes. Perk into shotguns and you will notice more shotgun magazines and shotgun parts appearing in the world. It isn't a significant bonus, but it does prevent the player from being screwed over. So instead of perks directly unlocking recipes and increasing quality, instead they will increase the probability probability of finding magazines and parts for what the player has perked into. But what happens when you max out a skill? That increased probability could turn into kind of a hindrance instead of being helpful. Well, when you max out a skill, that slight probability bonus granted by perks for finding the corresponding magazines for that skill drops off. The magazine will still show up randomly in loot, but it will no longer have a boost. The probability boost for finding matching parts will remain. So that was a more in-depth rundown of how the crafting system overhaul will work. And while it does attempt to address the progression issue, it also raises a couple of major concerns. First, the new crafting system is entirely dependent on RNG. Players have no control over what they will find. It is completely random. While you can increase the probability of finding the magazines and parts you want, it is still just a probability, or random chance. In the current system, players get to decide which craftable items to unlock and improve. By perking into the various skills, players choose which recipes are available and increase the quality level of craftable items. Now, RNG does exist in the current system. However, it is limited to finding crafting parts and certain crafting schematics. The new system expands the impact of RNG to encompass all aspects of crafting. The second major concern has to do with how progression is achieved. By locking crafting progression behind finding and reading magazines, the Fun Pimps are also locking crafting progression behind one, perhaps two activities, those being looting and trader interactions. There is no other way to improve crafting. You either have to prioritize looting POIs or prioritize trader interactions, i.e. questing or purchasing the magazines directly from the trader. This new system is the antithesis to the concept of a sandbox design. In the current system, you improve crafting by spending skill points on perks. Those skill points are earned by leveling up your character, and you level up your character by gaining experience. And there are multiple ways, multiple activities, multiple actions the player can perform in order to do this. Slay some zombie jerks, you gain experience. Mine resources, and you'll gain experience. Build and upgrade structures, and yes, you will gain experience. Buy items from or sell items to the trader, and you'll gain experience. Completing quests for the trader and looting POIs, you guessed it, you'll gain experience. However, the new system removes several of the options that are currently available to players, and it locks crafting progression exclusively behind looting and trader interactions. And no matter what you call the new system, whether it be learn by looting or learn by reading, the fact still remains. Player choices are being dramatically diminished. They will have to focus much more time on looting and trader interactions. These are just a couple of the concerns raised by the new Learn by Reading system. Once again, primarily from a single-player perspective. Multiplayer opens up a whole other can of worms that we may discuss in a future video. The new Learn by Reading system completely detaches crafting from perks. It introduces 23 new skills which will govern crafting, and these skills can be improved by reading magazines to unlock the various crafting recipes and increase the crafting quality of items. Perks will now increase the probability of finding certain magazines and parts. However, the new system is entirely RNG based, and players must focus much more of their time looting and or interacting with the trader. While it can be said that the new system does potentially address the progression issue, the solution the Fun Pimps chose to go with once again expands RNG and limits player options, neither of which are a good thing in my humble opinion. But that is just one man's opinion, folks. And now I'd like to hear what you all think. So hop on down to the comments and let me know your thoughts on the new Learn by Reading system coming to 7 Days to Die in Alpha 21. And if you'd like to find out some of the other changes coming in Alpha 21, simply click that box links in the top right corner of the screen in order to access my 7 Days to Die Alpha 21 Update News playlist. But for now, this is Savin saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you in the next one.